Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Let me get my biases out of the way first, because I think it's important, as someone who reviews games and talks about games, airs it all out for you all to smell before we get down to brass tacks. Okay, bias number one, Star Wars is my favorite, I guess, intellectual property universe. I fucking love Star Wars. I once embarrassed myself in class because my teacher asked where Vader's castle was located. I thought it was an easy question. I answered it immediately. Boom, most of our whole class looked at me like I had just stabbed 20 children to death in front of them. I'm quicker to learn Star Wars lore and what the lightsaber crystals symbolize for Force users compared to basic calculus and memorizing what point slope form looks like.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
Bias number two, this one's a little bit more niche. Between episodes 3 and 4 of Star Wars is my favorite time period, and that's when this game takes place. And finally, if you're one of the 2 people that's been following this channel before I made that Cyberpunk video, then you know that I have a weakness for third-person action-adventure games. I love them to death. So suffice to say, Respawn Entertainment specifically made this game for me to enjoy and for nobody else. Yeah, sorry fuckers, this game's for me. It's not for you. So to celebrate May the 4th, what do you mean it was last week? Okay, so due to it being finals week and just my own laziness / procrastination, this video is a tad late, just a little bit. But hey man, it's still Star Wars season. The new one recently came out. I want to talk about my favorite Star Wars game. Maybe not favorite Star Wars game. Battlefront 2 still exists. No, not the EA one. My favorite modern Star Wars game and why I enjoy it so much. Not that it has much competition when comparing it to other modern Star Wars games. I mean, like, what the fuck has EA been doing? Battlefront 1 launched with like maybe 3 maps, 2 guns, and was only the original trilogy. Battlefront 2 launched. It was cool. I still don't really like the gameplay of that one, but we all know what happened with the loot boxes, and that just left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. Plus, they abandoned it way too quickly, just when it was starting to actually become something truly special. Star Wars Squadron was cool. I played for a little bit. They kind of left that in the dirt though. I think they have a mobile game. I'm sure it's bad though. It's probably just used to scam kids out of their parents' precious credit card money. Is that it? I guess there's the MMO, but that's from like 2011. Plus, that's filled to the brim with microtransactions too, and I'm just not a big MMO guy. Imagine my surprise when this game was announced and actually released. I think I bought it like 2 weeks after it originally came out in 2019, and my god, it was beautiful.
This is where the fun begins.
Let's get my main problem with the game out of the way first, because after this point, I'm just gonna be just straight simping for this thing, because I love it so much. This game does very little that's like innovative and unique. I like to play things gameplay-wise that are unique, have their own identity. In this game, it just borrows a lot from like every Naughty Dog game ever created, from Sekiro, and a bunch of others. And this isn't even like a massive downside for me. Obviously, art imitates other art. In this game, it imitates good art in fantastic ways. But I just wish they did something a little bit more interesting with the gameplay, a little bit more their own style, with their own identity. But hey, at the end of the day, Sekiro combat with the lightsaber, sign me up, bro. Besides that, exploration in this game is really well done. It's kind of like that God of War 2018 Metroidvania style, where you go to like different zones, different worlds, and there's a bunch of different branching paths that interconnect with each other, and there's different things to find. It's incredibly rewarding to find different lore pieces, different cool new locations, but the loot you get from exploring, the customization options are so whack, which is a damn shame because I love going to see as many different locations as possible. And then I open up a chest, it's just another fucking poncho. Not that there's anything wrong with the poncho, but it's like it's all ponchos. I did like the lightsaber options though, but most of the paint jobs you get as well, I just never used. And I wish there was something more rewarding in terms of like gameplay that you get from exploring and doing extra things besides the extra health stim canisters. And in terms of negatives, that might be it. I wish this game was longer because I want it to be 200 hours of just me playing as Cal Kestis killing stormtroopers, but we have to compromise in some places. Speaking of mercilessly killing stormtroopers, the combat in this game is by far my favorite part. As I stated earlier, it imitates Sekiro's system with an emphasis on dodging, but mainly on parrying enemy attacks and then retallying with slow, methodical, well thought out barrages of attacks. Add this with some awesome force powers that I don't think they go quite far enough with, but still add so much variety to your play style and what you want that, man, it's just so fun. There's a skill tree that you can get upgrades for using XP, and it's really simple, but I think it gets the job done well enough. This is an action game, not an RPG. You want something simple, yet that keeps you feeling powerful as you progress. But what really keeps you powerful in this game is just learning the different enemy types, movesets yourself, and becoming more competent with the gameplay itself. There are so many different types of stormtroopers and wildlife to contend with that it can be a little bit overwhelming, but once you learn movesets, not only will Cal become more powerful through the skill tree, you become more powerful mechanically, and it's so rewarding to finally take on these big fights and feel like such a badass Jedi, because that's what this game is all about at the end of the day. Oh wait, did I say badass Jedi? I meant merciless serial killer who kills hard-working soldiers just trying to get their minimum wage from the Empire. Because I'm not gonna lie, by the end of this game, Cal's stormtrooper body count has to be over 1,000. And I get it, he's defending himself, but you can't help but feel bad for some of these guys. They just be chattering during the like, oh god, no, I'm the last one alive, he's gonna get me. But then yes, I do mercilessly slaughter them with no regard for their family or their life in general. Also, bonus points for having an AT-AT section that plays so smooth. Usually play like a tank section or a vehicle section in one of these games. It's so clunky, but the AT-AT section feels so buttery. So shout out to Respawn for doing that right. And let's get on to... Wait, did I say combat was my favorite part? Because I actually meant the story was my favorite part. Yeah, I know, I'm a bit of a liar. Now, I must preface this again. It's my favorite part because I am a Star Wars fan at heart before a critic. And I'm giving it some bonus points. But even then, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I think there's still a lot you can take away from this plot here. And it stands out to me so much because I really like the protagonist of this game, Cal Kestis. When I first saw the trailer, I wanted to make my own Jedi. I wasn't on Team Cal at all. I was like, who the fuck is this ginger looking bitch? Get him off my screen. And now I can confidently say in the official Jedi rankings, this isn't just my ranking, this is the official, like, Star Wars actually proved this. He's a top 3 Jedi all time. It goes Obi-Wan, of course it does, Luke Skywalker, and then Cal Kestis, although you could make an argument for Coleman Trevor to be at number 3. Rest in peace, by the way, gone way too soon. And I like Cal so much because he has to overcome a lot of demons throughout the story of this game to become a true Jedi, because it's more than just waving around a cool looking lightsaber. And playing it through again, I still really enjoy the themes of his character arc of failure and hope and overcoming the fear to fight back. And it was extremely satisfying to see how he changes from the beginning of the game where he's this scared boy just scrapping out the remains of his past life to the end where, I won't spoil it right now, where the last mission he just goes fucking crazy. The only downside to his character I can think of is he's got this goofy ass sprint. The animation makes him look like a goddamn cartoon character. And without spoiling anything, I love the missions in this game. There's obviously those slower moments in between with exploration that are also very well done, but the missions steal the show. The beginning mission on the train on Baraka, the battles on Kashyyyk, and the ones at the end of the game I'm not going to spoil because they need to be experienced firsthand. And man, one of the greatest cameos I've ever seen in any piece of Star Wars media. Now that's stuff I like the most, but not to say that there's not more to enjoy. The side characters are cool. Seer Junda, she got some bug eyes, but she's a cool mentor character. She has a cool character arc as well. Grease, man, my boy Grease be hitting them parlays. And he's got some funny looking facial hair. And who could forget the bestest bud of the bestest buds in all the galaxy? BD-1, our droid companion that heals us throughout the game. Wizards are cool villains. They're mainly just evil for the sake of being evil, but they have the best boss fights in the game because they're actual lightsaber duels. And I think it just works well as the beginning of a trilogy. They're kind of testing the water a little bit. It has a bit of a New Hope vibe where they're not trying to do a whole lot. A bit restricted. First time doing a game like this. But just because you're not doing a lot doesn't mean it can't be good. And in fact here, as I've said a million times, it's the exact opposite. In this one, it does rely on some of that Star Wars nostalgia. Like, oh, we're going to Kashyyyk. You ever been to Kashyyyk? It's not a Star Wars game without Kashyyyk. You go to Dathomir because the Night Sisters are there. It's kind of a creepy place. And oh look, it's that guy. He has a tentacle hentai torture monster that lives in his basement. Man, I love Star Wars. And while I say that sarcastically, I do truly love Star Wars. I love that for all the wacky shit that happens, it can still be intertwined with serious moments, which I think this game does expertly. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, Star Wars is essentially space wizards having a gang war across a galaxy because the super special magical powers that are gifted to them from birth based on something in their blood count that makes no sense can be used for evil or good or somewhere in between. And that's what makes it special, because it can tell cool stories with interesting themes with this wacky sci-fi fantasy premise. And every good Star Wars story has a heart. It has that Star Wars heart. You can't even really describe it, but you know when something is great Star Wars because it has that feeling, and this game has that feeling. Unlike EA's other titles, which I know were just made to scam you. Another way to explain it would be like, I'd rather watch Attack of the Clones 20 times, even though I personally don't think it's that good of a movie, it still has that Star Wars heart, compared to The Rise of Skywalker one time, because not only is it not a good movie, it doesn't have that Star Wars heart. Okay, maybe that's a bad example because I like this game a lot more than I like Attack of the clones, but it's just made by people who care, and that was such a rarity back in 2019, not only just for Star Wars games and EA, but for the whole industry. So when, honestly, this game, if I'm being completely unbiased, does nothing entirely special. It's still a great video game, but looking at it through just a clear objective lens, it's like an 8 out of 10. But for me, it's like a 10 out of 10 because the impact it had on me, and it gave me faith and hope that games like this can still exist, and that Star Wars games can be fantastic again. And it may have shown EA a bit of the light side, not to be corny, but with how well this game did, right after the other debacles they had, I think came out after Anthem. What the fuck was that, by the way? What the hell is an Anthem? Since this game did so well, I think they've released a lot of quality single player titles. Now some are remakes like Dead Space, but like It Takes Two, they published that one. Wild Hearts recently came out. I think the port was bad, it was still a solid game. They got some more upcoming. Dragon Age 4, that's honestly in my opinion all on BioWare because they kind of suck ass recently. But they're leading with some more single player titles, and they haven't been perfect, definitely far from it. But I was definitely very excited for Jedi Survivor. It was my most anticipated game of the year, because I trusted Respawn to build upon the foundations that they imitated here and make something that's more of their own, and I trusted EA, as weird as this sounds, to deliver on this game alone, because they don't want to fuck up what they already made with Jedi Fallen Order. And then it came out and the port sucks major dick. Fuck you, EA. Suck my dick. I just talk good about you, and you're gonna hold me like this. Now I look bad, dude. I was just praising you and I look stupid. What the fuck am I gonna do now, EA? Fuck you, EA. Eat my ass.
Oh, ho, brother, ho, whoa, 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 now.
But in all honesty, besides performance issues, the game is very good. Stay tuned for the video. It'll be very soon, and by very soon, I mean to see you in like a month.